Okay, I think we are live. Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Sires. This is Flesh and Blood Unseals, and today we've got a couple of very special guests. Top left, we have Pamela. Pamela is from Upper Valley Mend. I think you all might remember Upper Valley Mend from our first charity event that was just a couple of months back now. And below that, we have the man who inspired the event. His name is Mark Melnick. Welcome, both of you. Thank you both for being here.
I'm not doing any of that.
That's okay. I did it on behalf of everyone.
Yeah.
Hello,
So,
everyone.
hi. Yeah. So, thanks for coming on. Thank you for being here.
Yeah,
Um,
No
nice to
problem.
finally meet you, Pamela.
Yeah, you guys took me by surprise. I started noticing a lot of donations coming in, and I was thinking, what's going on? And then I got an email from Chris saying, this is fun, check it out. And you guys rocked it. I mean, you donated $3,596,
oh wow.
which is, we're a small nonprofit. That's a significant donation. So thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, way to
Awesome.
go.
Awesome. Great to hear it. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were looking for some a cause that was near and dear to one of our hearts, and I've given to Upper Valley Mend a couple times in the past, and I thought it'd be fun to figure out like how big could it go. And Mark came to me and he said, "Hey, I want to set up a charity event, and I want to donate some product for this game that we play, Flesh and Blood, and let's see what we can do with this." And so we came to you first. We hit up Upper Valley Mend first. After that, we went to Duke. We're supporting them for their fight with ALS, and who knows what's next.
And the feeling of community was really strong. There was people donating from Germany, and I don't know if you're, how widely you are across the world, sort of thing. But at a time when I think most of us have felt quite isolated, it was actually really quite special. And I enjoyed coming into work every day to look to see where the next donation had come in from. So yeah, it was quite neat, actually. Very much so. And I think that on our end, what it means is that there are people who either lost their jobs or lost income because of the pandemic. We're a small tourist town in the Eastern Cascades, and everything shut down, and the tourists stopped coming. And so a lot of our working families who work in hotels and restaurants and bars lost their jobs, or just didn't have the hours, and so people were struggling to buy food and pay rent and stuff like that. And so I think it made a real difference. I know it made a real difference in people's lives. So the feeling of community that we were able to get from it, was awesome, was fantastic. So
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things for me, and obviously working with this Flesh and Blood game, which you probably never heard about before until Chris probably emailed you and was talking to
well,
you
and I
about
thought, what am I joining here? Flesh and blood?
it. Yeah, that doesn't sound so
I'm a good
PG.
girl.
Yeah. And my big thing with the charity event is it's one thing, and I'd like to know your feeling on it being behind the scenes. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a little bit of a cold. Um, when you have so many individual donors giving a small piece of the larger pie, when you have a lot of these individual donors, it allows many people to feel like they have made a difference. So I actually wanted to thank you because it's charities like yours which help people like me feel like we make a difference. A lot of people's jobs in life, they don't really bring any form of true meaning to life. Me, I'm a stock trader. I bring absolutely zero value to the planet. Nothing. I mean, I do. I support my family. Once you go beyond that, I do absolutely nothing for the world. Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Oh, Mark, you have liquidity to the market. No. I do nothing. Stop trying to make it seem like I'm doing something.
Okay, well, all right.
Well, that's my point. So it's charities like yours and the real work that you're doing. Like you, the work you're doing a difference for the world. Me, not really. But if I can take what I do and the money that I make from my job and actually give it to a cause like yours and inspire others to give meaning to their work, what you did was you brought sort of a positive vibe, a positive energy to a lot of people who never had that before.
It's a rallying point for us.
Awesome.
Absolutely, and you have to realize, as appreciative as I can clearly see you are for everything that, you know, your charity was, Chris was the one who came out with your charity, and Chris does all the videos and whatnot at night in the community, and I threw the charity donations to give out to the community to support your cause. And I'm telling you what your charity does and what you're speaking about today. You are basically explaining to all those people who donated to your charity, what kind of difference that they have made in the world. And it's amazing to have you on because you don't really know what happens when you give to a charity. Like, you give to a charity, it's gone. It's no longer there. All right, you spent the money, you know you did something good, you're hoping it went to the right places. So what you're doing is, by coming on here, you're giving us the ability to put that context, that color, where it has gone from, and you're showing people who have given money, well, weeks ago we did this, right, or whatever?
A couple months ago.
In January, weeks ago, in January, you're actually showing them the difference that it actually made and the difference that they made. And that good feeling, I hope, will bring another good feeling. I told Chris I want to do another Upper Valley Men a charity run. So if you would love to provide, and then I would love to answer all your questions too. I think you had a couple that you wanted to ask Chris and I. You know, I would love for you to, you know, delve even, if you can, just a little further on those people who are out of work and the people who Upper Valley Men was able to help.
Yeah, so last year was very strange. Last March was when the lockdown hit everyone, and people suddenly literally got up one morning and didn't have a job to go to. The federal and state response meant that people weren't immediately without help. And so last year it was pretty much a steady level of help that was required in the community. The food bank was there. We set up a different model so that people could still come and get food. But we knew that we would see it more now that, you know, I mean, the pandemic's not over, but things are starting to open up again. There's a vaccination out there. And now people are trying to dig themselves out of a financial hole. And so now we're starting to see people come in and they have 6 months of unpaid rent that they need help with, you know. They are, you know, we actually had a lady come in last week who, and I think this has been talked about even nationally, that ended up, you know, having to leave a domestic violence situation. Whether the pandemic had exacerbated that or not, I don't know, but she couldn't pay rent. You know, she had to leave her home. And she couldn't pay rent, so she was able to come and we were able to help her. And the biggest thing that we're doing right now is we can give that immediate help, but we can't pay 6 months of rent. So we can give that immediate help, which means that they're not going to lose their home, they're not going to be out in the street, and we can get them connected to the food bank, get them connected to a free health clinic if they need any health care. But then also what we're doing is we're making sure that they're connected to the local services that can help them longer term. And so we actually have a new staff person on board called Liz Hurtado, and she's our emergency systems coordinator, and she's a social worker by training. And so what we're doing is we're actually making sure that these people, it's not a one and done, here's your May's rent, off you go, you're on your own. It's getting them into the system, and that's a terrible way to say it, but it is. It's getting them hooked up with the people who can help them become more stable. ways, the pandemic brought that into focus for us, you know, because it didn't last just 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and it wasn't just a matter of, okay, well, come to the food bank a couple of times, oh, here's help with your rent for this month. I think that a lot of families are coming out of this wondering how they're ever going to get clawed out of the hole that they've fallen into. So we're working very hard to make sure that we like to talk about it as somebody who's walking alongside them out of crisis, to make sure that, you know, it's not just one touch point.
Right. I mean, statistically across the United States with domestic abuse, it has increased. People are stuck at home. They're flustered. They're frustrated. Unfortunately, it does bring out the worst in a lot of people at times, and it's a very sad thing. People don't have a release. They're not hanging out with their friends as often. They're not going out somewhere. They're stuck at home. They're stuck with the same people. There's no separation where they get to go to work, come home. Their whole daily routines got screwed up. Not that that's any justification for domestic violence ever, but it has definitely been exacerbated in the United States over the coming, months and through the pandemic and everything. I'm curious. I mean, you mentioned something very important, and I actually didn't construe it negatively when you said you want to bring them back in the system. Are you actually trying to find these people jobs?
No. What I meant there was we connect them, for example, with the Housing Authority so that they are hooked into whatever support is there to either get them into longer term housing or get them help with rent longer term, hooking them into mental health support. It's just so hard to get, and a lot of people, there's a stigma against it. But if you're struggling with mental health and you can't put food on the table for your kids and you don't know how you're paying the next rent, that's just a quagmire. You're not walking out of that without help. So in that sense, the system is the social network, the social work services network that's there that is incredibly hard to access. It's incredibly hard to navigate if you're underwater already. It can be daunting. So that's the sense I mean. Now, we will connect people to Job Force, I think is what it's called, in Wenatchee's the larger city about 20 miles down the road from us, and we have a working relationship with them. So if somebody needs to be connected with a service to help them get training or a job, we can do that.
Okay, I think that's very important because that sort of completes the whole cycle.
Yes.
You help them get on their feet. They don't have to be worried about how they're going to feed their kids. They're getting out of, God forbid, violent situations, and they're out and about. They don't know where to go. And here's somebody like you helping them find and connect with all the services. I mean, you have to realize, I don't think maybe a lot of viewers realize this at first because most of us have a roof over our head, that where would you go if you were just thrown out of the street right now? Right now, if you were on the street, where would you go to find shelter, food? Like, who would provide that for you? Pretend you had no one else to turn to who would support you. Where would you go? And an organization like Upper Valley Men would be that sanctuary for people like that.
Yeah. We're sort of unusual because we're the only nonprofit in the Upper Valley, and so we're a jack of all trades. So, we have a food bank, we have a free clinic, we have an affordable housing program.
The gleaning efforts.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, one of the things that always stands out to me is the gleaning efforts that go on.
Oh, the gleaning program?
Yeah, just amazing.
It is, and it's growing every year. So gleaning it's actually a biblical term, and it means to go in after the harvest and clean up what's left behind. Or in our case as well, if a harvest was unmarketable for any reason, the fruit's too small or it got hail damage or something.
The ugly fruit or the
ugly fruit,
vegetable.
yes.
Right.
We can go. So we work with. I think last year we worked with something like 56 orchards and farms. This is a big agricultural area. Pears and apples, cherries, and then there's a lot of small organic farms. There's quite a big movement here. So we work with those farmers and volunteers. I think last year it was over 400 volunteers. Can't quite remember that for sure, but I think close to that. And they go out to partner farms and glean whatever fresh fruits and vegetables the farmer's willing to donate, and then they come to our food bank, and then food banks in both Chelan and Douglas counties, which is the two counties local here, and then also apples at the end of the season go across the state to food banks.
Yeah, and I just want to explain to the viewers out there, when you go inside a supermarket and you see all the beautiful produce, that's actually, you know, in flesh and blood terms, that's almost like the cold foils that are produced by these farms. Those are the rarities. Most fruits are considered, as we call them, ugly, and most vegetables, the majority of them are actually ugly, to the point where the supermarkets won't take them and put them on their shelves because they're not shaped exactly correctly. They look a little misformed, but they're completely healthy. They have the exact identical nutritional content. There's nothing wrong with them, but they don't make it to your Whole Foods, or they don't make it to the market where you're eating something that looks very visually appealing, or what you would perceive what an apple or a watermelon or an orange or a cherry should look like. And what they do is, a lot of that produce, a lot of the farmers, it used to all go to waste. They would just have to destroy it because it would eventually spoil. You're not going to sit there and create some large refrigeration to prolong it. They might juice it, they might try other things, but what happens is people like Pamela, they're going and they're gleaning this, they're taking the ugly crops that these farmers can't sell to the market, and they're not letting it go to waste, and they're giving the food to people who actually need it. And again, identical nutritionally, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just visually,
It's
You know.
stopping waste. Like, I love it.
It's
And it's
a
feeding
huge-
people.
Waste is a huge problem. Yeah, food waste is a huge problem. So, yeah, and the farmers love it. They don't want to see, you know, a year's hard work rotting. So they love it. And it's
they
actually
get a write-off for it.
they get their tax better. Yeah,
Good.
yeah, for the value
Deserve
of it.
Win, win, win.
Yes, it is. It is absolutely a win-win, and the program just keeps growing. So, actually, there's always a silver lining to most dark clouds, and so one of the silver linings to COVID was the CARES money, and we were actually able to get some of that, and we actually got a walk-in cooler that we installed in the food bank, which meant that we could keep the fruits and vegetables longer
Awesome.
and distribute them further. So, not a very
Awesome.
great silver lining to COVID, but something decent came out of it. So, yeah.
And that's exactly, I think you highlighted it, that's exactly what it is. Your Upper Valley Mint is that silver lining in hard and dark situations. You are sort of that glimmer of hope, that glimmer of light to get people back on their feet. And what I think is going to happen, if you haven't, I don't know how long the organization has been around, but what you are going to see is, you're going to see years from now people who become wildly successful who are going to turn back and look at your organization because you were that stepping stone that they needed during their darkest hour. You were that hand reaching out and trying to pull them up when they needed it the most. And you know,
Let me share a story with you that I heard when I first took this job that just gave me shivers. Not last year because of COVID, but there's always bell ringers in downtown Leavenworth because there's a lot of tourists come in, the trees are all lit up, it's Christmas carols. And one of our volunteers was out bell ringing, and a young man came across to her from the other side of the street. He was standing there with his partner and a daughter, and he came over and he put money in the bucket. And she said, "Well, thanks very much. Would you like to take your picture?" And he said, No. But the food bank was there for me for 3 years when I needed it the most. And here he was now, independent, looking after his family and giving back. And I think that's when I decided that I could work for this organization. And I have so many stories like that of people that they just needed somebody there at the time to make sure that they didn't fall down a really dark hole. And most people want to be independent, right? They want to do for themselves. And sometimes when circumstances make that really difficult, that's why we're there.
We're all stronger together.
Healthcare. Sorry, Chris?
We're all stronger together.
Yes, absolutely. And I don't want to overstate it, but I really did feel humbled by your group's response. I mean, you don't know us, Mark. I could have taken your money and spent it on a car or something, But no, we are and stronger together, and there's more that connects us. Chris, you said this. I use your quote. There's more. We have more in common than what divides us. I think that was you.
Yep.
Yeah. So
What a beautiful
it's a wise
organization
man.
that Chris has chosen here, and it's just a beautiful thing. And one of the things I like to do is, you always hear, from my perspective, the stereotypical story of you'll see somebody famous, and I always interpret it positively, but you know, there's everyone on both sides of the aisle, and they'll say, all right, I'm trying to help, you know, God forbid, you know, like, you know, breast cancer, God forbid, because somebody in their family had breast cancer. So now they're pushing forward with the charity for breast cancer because they know how hard it is to fight, you know, that battle with somebody who they love who's going through a situation like that. So one of the things that I was doing was, one of the things that a lot of people realize with all the charities I give to is I don't choose my own charity. I try to embrace other people's charities, other people's ideas. You're right. I've never heard of Upper Valley Men. Chris, I've never been in the state of Washington.
Oh,
You're going to be, though.
I will be for sure. I've never been there. I would, you know, probably walk down the street, Pamela, and I wouldn't even recognize who you are. But in order, you know, to take something that, you know, Chris believed in this circumstance, which it was Chris who chose Upper Valley Men, that just sort of, you know, support it, prop it, and bring an entire crew around them, almost like the guy from the Verizon commercials where he's like, oh, can you hear me now? Good. And you see him walking, and there's this huge crowd of people behind him in the older commercials. That's what I tried to do, you know, in this case with Chris. Like, Chris was the Verizon guy in the front, and, like, we sort of just all tried to surround him and push forward. It was fun. We did it with the Flesh and Blood card game. And we didn't know I didn't know what I was getting into. I thought, you know, Chris told me briefly it was, you know, they help, you know, one of the things he said is domestic abuse and women. And as soon as he said that, I was, you know, all on board 100%. And it was amazing to bring sort of the gift of giving. And it can't be emphasized enough because, yes, you could have taken the money and spent it on the car. Your organization was the receiving end of that, Pamela, and I understand that. But let's never underestimate that there are people who reached out to me, Chris, from the Flesh and Blood group, saying, Mark, I've never given to a charity in my entire life. That's the first time I've ever given to a charity. So Upper Valley Men was the first experience for a lot of people to actually give to a charitable cause. And it was just a magical situation.
I replied to those folks that said the same thing to me. I said, feels good, doesn't it?
yeah. It's a sense of power, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just doing something because you
it is a
can,
sense
because
of
you
power.
want to.
So this is probably going to cause you all to gasp and clutch your pearls. But is Flesh and Blood like Dungeons and Dragons?
Okay. Chris is going to say much. I have a picture ready for you, Pamela. I'm going to show you a picture. Here's the thing. Here's the rules. I'm going to show you a picture. I have it up on my screen. I'm going to pull it up in 1 second. You have to give how many dollars you think this card will be worth. I know you know nothing about the game. It's a random guess. I know you're making it up. We're going to show you a picture. By December 31st of 2021, what is this card? Let me know when you're ready, and I'll show it to you. What is this card going to be worth by December 2021? You ready? You ready, Pamela?
Yeah.
Okay.
I never do well at these.
There.
Oh, well, she's a babe. I don't know, 100,000.
I love this woman. Great job, Chris.
Nice. I like
That's
it.
what I'm talking about. If this card is worth half of that,
Oh, okay.
if this card is worth 25% of that, better yet, even if this card is worth $1, we're going to hit Upper Valley Mend up again, Chris. If Chris is down to hit you guys up again, let's do it. $100,000 price prediction. I can't tell if she's being modest, but that is $100,000 face. You heard it first.
Oh my goodness.
I love it.
First.
Love it.
So what is the most expensive card to date? And are you the only group like this? Or are there more groups like this in social media?
Well, there are other groups that deal with flesh and blood. I'd like to think that we are unique in that we spend more time doing things charitably and doing these unseals events and stuff. We have a different focus, I think, than other groups.
So do you actually play together, or is the point that, oh, look what I got?
There's
Or do you?
a little bit of both. A little bit of both. Yeah, we definitely, some of us play together. It's a fairly new game, so
Oh, it is. Okay.
yeah, it came out in November of 2019, I think, is when it really kind of, well, nobody really knew about it. How about that? The game, I really started showing up in the U.S. more like October of 2020. That's when people started, it just kind of broke
Wow.
on the radar. So all
And
of
how many
this,
are in your group? So you've grown
eight,
quite rapidly.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yes, we're up to almost
Almost
900
1,000.
people now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, we're just shy of 900 people, and it's been, yes, we started back in October, so we're building a huge community. A lot of people are having a great time doing it, and yeah, Mark, absolutely, we're gonna come back around. We're gonna hit up Upper Valley Mend again and see if we can't surpass our previous totals for sure. Because it's just awesome to actually be able to be in touch with you and know what the differences that we're making. You know, like it means something. You know,
Yeah.
it's good to give to a big cause. We love giving to big causes, right? Trying to fight ALS, that's about as big as it gets, I think, and it's so important, right? But then there's the little causes where it's like I can actually point at my dollars and say that went there, that went there, this made this difference, and that's visceral, you know. That like that hits you. So
I think that's such a beautiful point you made, Chris, because so many of the bigger causes, or what people perceive to be the biggest causes out there, get the most publicity. You want to donate for ALS, you want to donate for cancers, you want to donate for, you know, certain things. They get a lot of publicity, but Upper Valley meant nobody, and I mean zero
In the
people in
best
the
possible
community.
way.
they're like, who is
Yes.
this? What?
Zero people in the community would have heard about it if it wasn't for Chris choosing
Yeah.
Upper Valley Mend and saying, okay, this is where, you know, this is a cause that Chris believes in. And what Chris ultimately did was he created a cause in which we all believe in. And hearing you talk about, you know, the type where these dollars go to helping a woman who, part of domestic abuse, people who are obviously, lots of people are losing their jobs. I mean, I joke around. I say, you know, as a day trader, somebody who works from home, you know, for a long time now, I would not know the pandemic even existed if you didn't tell me about it, because I would never need to. Granted, I'd go out, I'd see people en masse, but I wouldn't really understand what was going on. But for the majority of people there who are, you know, working these jobs and going to these, you know, wherever they have to work and, you know, to be employed, so many of them are getting laid off. And, you know, and a lot of times it's a double down, and you know, two negatives don't make a positive in this case, where, you know, you can have a woman who loses her job, she goes home, the husband is upset, they're going through financial stress, they're going through stresses in which their relationship never had to handle before, domestic abuse breaks out, now the woman is out and about, she has nowhere to go, she lost her job, she's probably going to be done with her relationship, whatever was left of it, you know, potentially, she has nowhere to turn, and here's just a godsend of an organization who's going to help her get food, help her pay some rent, help her get some affordable housing, and like you said, there was the bigger city 20 miles away from you, that would help them maybe even get a job, and it's literally just putting people back on track in life when they got completely derailed. And
Yeah.
what a beautiful cause.
Putting people first.
Yeah.
People first.
Yeah, and seeing the common humanity in us all, right?
Yep.
Amen.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
When I was transferring from my previous job to this one, you know, I had a lot of fear that I wouldn't be able to get another job, and oh my gosh, you know, what if we can't pay the mortgage and we lose the house? And you know, really nervous, really scared, you know, about what the future would look like. And the truth, if it is for so many people that work in hospitality and the agricultural, you know, any minimum wage job, they're living on that line day in, day out. You know, and when rents, I don't know how much you know about Leavenworth, but it's a very expensive place to live. I actually live just outside Leavenworth, but
No idea.
very expensive and getting more and more expensive because it's a bedroom community for Seattle. And so there's a lot of very beautiful big houses here, and you can charge a good amount for rent, and a lot of those houses get turned over into short-term rentals or holiday homes, and so it's even hard for people to find somewhere to live and work here. So a lot of our workforce actually drives in from Wenatchee 20 miles away because they can't afford to live here. So they're facing an uphill battle all the time, you know, and all they need is something to go wrong, like a pandemic, and their backs against the wall.
Yep.
So yeah, it's seeing the humanity in everybody, I think, and realizing that but for the grace of whatever, you could go there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to just even give a further delve into Upper Valley. And I actually, as somebody who has given so much to the organization, I literally got an email talking about voting for like board members of Upper Valley Men, and now
you're part of the family now.
I really didn't care to vote on anything because I didn't really know, but what it did was I got to see the faces of anything. I think just remembering off the top of my head, the Hurtado lady, doesn't she have a husband who works in the place as well?
Her brother.
Her brother. Okay, somebody with the
board
last
member. Yeah.
So her brother, so somebody with the same last name. So I'm like, oh wow. So like, even you just throwing out the name and just me just remembering off the top of my head, briefly going through, I got to see everybody's face, and it's amazing to just sort of have that connection, because when a lot of these charities that you give to, you never see a face. You cannot connect the face to anything. So just such a blessing to, you know, have you here with us and just talking about it, and really what Upper Valley Men tries to do. And you know, people, you know, as somebody who's a donor, you get to decide like who you want representing the organization, and it's really it's empowering people while putting people first. It is one of the most unique things that I have seen in a charitable organization. I have never had a charitable organization in my life where they actually sent me out something and said, hey, you know, this is who we are. You know, you can vote on the board members, that they actually put the power of their future in the people who supported them. And that, I think, was I've never seen another charity, and I've given to hundreds. I've never seen another charity in my life that has done that.
That's a powerful model. You won't succeed if I mean, if you give the people that are giving you money the ability to vote you out, you will not succeed if you're doing bad things with their money. That's lovely. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we try to be as accountable as possible, and we also, when we look at ourselves as the hands of the community, right? I mean, not everybody can run a food bank, and not everybody can volunteer at a free clinic, and not everybody can glean or, you know, support affordable housing in terms of their job, right? But everybody can make those differences in the community through us. So we see ourselves as a conduit for making Chris's wishes come true in his community.
Love it.
That's our job.
Love it. Yep.
Yeah.
And it made an excellent rallying point for us once, and you know, we're going to do it again some point. It was a lot of fun. And I mean, all of this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time to come out and talk with us. And
Oh no, that was great. Yeah, and you have a very neat group. And you know, gosh, if everybody who had a passion like you share decided to do something like this to change the world, imagine how much better the world would be, right?
well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for being a part.
No problem.
Really appreciate you coming on with us, Pamela. And, you know, it's a real pleasure putting a face behind, and I could probably talk on behalf of everyone here, Chris, in the Flesh and Blood community who have given to Upper Valley Men. It's really nice to see something like this happen, because I guarantee you donate $100,000 to the American Cancer Association, you're not getting anybody from the company reaching out to you, doing a video to you, talking about what you have done and how you have helped. And that is sort of the grassroots thing of what the Flesh and Blood game is. You have a person, this person right here, who has really gone out and made people feel really special with the game, and has gone out to help the local gaming stores, the small stores that try to sell the game, as opposed to the largest corporations only. I mean, they have their part as well, of course, but it's people like you who focus on the appreciative aspect, the smaller aspect, telling the story of where the money goes aspect. That's what makes Upper Valley Men unique and special for me, and I could probably say on behalf of just about everyone here.
Absolutely.
No, it was a pleasure to meet you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and absolutely. If the 2020 annual report is on the website now, so if you're into statistics, and there's some photos in there that show the work that we do.
100% checking it out.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, all right. Well, thank you
All
very
right.
much, Chris, for the invite. I really did appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.